Mindshock Live Q&A. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and this is the 59th edition. These are more like chill stream hangouts versus official Q&As, and we never really know where we're going to end up on these, which is what makes it really fun. Yes, Indy Cindy 333, you did catch a live. It's been a little bit less xylophone. I am not easy to get. Greetings, Clark Rice. So yeah, had a couple things to do, and ran a couple more days than I thought. But we are back for some mind-shocking revelations on any and all topics with logic and reason at the forefront, unlike anything else out there in the mainstream or otherwise. If you want to help support the podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it's quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcasts, or requests. You can also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind. Leave them in the comments. Unless you were with us here live, then drop them in the live chat. I'll try to get to all of them, and you can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. So, what has everybody been up to? What does everybody want to start with today? Perhaps one of the most mind-shocking mind shocks is how little is being done in the aftermath of the Epstein files being released. It's a little weird. It's definitely a little weird. Let me bring up a couple of memes to illustrate all of this. Who would have thought that memes might be the weapon of choice? The pen is mightier than the sword, they said. And it appears memes are mightier than all. Let's look at this video from 2013. And we'll get everybody's thoughts on it. One second here. This is Snowden in 2013.
The greatest fear that I have regarding the outcome for America of these disclosures is that nothing will change. People will see in the media all of these disclosures. They'll know the lengths that the government is going to grant themselves powers unilaterally.
I mean, this is actually really spooky. I mean, just the, for lack of a better word, the gravity of the situation. Perhaps the only way to use that word accurately.
To create greater control over American society and global society. But they won't be willing to take the risks necessary to stand up and fight.
I mean, these are just very, very mind-shocking revelations. Yes, prophetic. Indy Cindy. Prophetic is a good word.
And the months ahead, the years ahead, it's only going to get worse.
And for those who haven't seen the movie Enemy of the State with Will Smith, I've actually mentioned that movie quite a few times I saw that in the theater opening day. And it was quite it was just mind-shocking that if this level of surveillance tech was revealed to the public. So Snowden is saying this in 2013. Enemy of the State came out in 1998. A decade and a half prior. Over a decade prior to Snowden saying this.
The greatest fear that I have regarding the outcome for America of these disclosures is that nothing will change.
I mean, this is kind of crazy. This is kind of crazy. Welcome, Fire Pixie, Pepperidge Farms. Remember, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, my friend. Welcome, Flat Bob. Chin. Clark says, any take on the missing Air Force general who used to run Area 51? I have not even heard of that. When was this disclosed? Heracles says soft disclosure. Do you mean enemy of the state or Snowden? Chin Chin says whether controlled or not, everything he exposed was true. Welcome, Critter Mama. So Heracles says Snowden. Well, both. Flat Bob says enemy of the snow. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. There should have been, and in the aftermath of that movie, there wasn't anything. I think most NPCs, most of the coincidence theorists, the authority-worshipping cultist bootlickers, I think they all dismissed it as fantasy. I don't know why. I mean, all the tech in the movie already existed. I mean, you could buy those tiny little spy cameras even in 1998. I mean, obviously they weren't good quality, and the wireless capabilities weren't, super long range, but the tech was there. The tech was there. And all the goofs just dismissed it. But that movie really scared me. I mean, that was one of the few movies that was actually terrifying. Because if they put it in a movie, how long have they already been doing it? And I've gone over the Echelon spy satellite system, which a lot of coincidence theorists, because like years ago, even before Mindshock started, a lot of goofs, well, like the coincidence theorists were pretending there was no mass surveillance, that it was some kind of fantasy technology, or, I mean, it's just kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Because Echelon, also known as the Five Eyes, this was Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK, and the United States. I mean, it's practically like all the Western countries here, English-speaking Western countries, signed the UK-USA Security Agreement. And this was a signals intelligence SIGINT collection and analysis network. So supposedly, this kind of started in the 50s. Just surveillance, they had high-frequency radio surveillance in the 1950s. And it just expanded. Like, what kind of goof would hallucinate that it wouldn't expand? So supposedly by 1981, I mean, this is from the wiki. From 1981, the NSA, 1981, GCHQ, Government Communications Headquarters, which, and the NSA, the National Security Agency, they started the construction of the first worldwide network, the WAN, for surveillance in 1981. So I don't know why goofs were hallucinating that by 1998, if they're putting it in a Hollywood movie, that somehow it's fantasy. It's kind of weird. It's just, I found it kind of weird. I mean, even without understanding predictive programming and all of these things, like, if you see some kind of top secret stealth aircraft in a movie, I mean, are you going to assume, not necessarily they have that exact model, but they have something like that? What kind of goof would hallucinate they don't? Flat Bob says, just imagine how tiny cameras they got now. Yeah, I mean, some people actually, I don't know if I want to go down this rabbit hole. In certain medical treatments from certain medical events that may or may not have transpired 6 years ago, there might be surveillance within the medical treatments, which are now in people's bloodstreams. Indy Cindy said Star Trek new. Clark says Major General McCausland disappeared while walking in a rural area in New Mexico 2 weeks ago. He used to run Area 51. Massive government search underway. That's curious. Yeah, I did not hear about that. Flat Bob says mosquito cameras. I mean, they have nano cameras. I mean, when was the first nano camera? Do we really want to go down this rabbit hole? I actually went over the history of CCTV on the Amy Mihalovic series. If you haven't checked out that true crime series, the most comprehensive on the case, check that out. It actually started in the 70s. Certain malls in the 70s had CCTV. All right, just real quick, let me do a lag test here, making sure we're good, not about to get shut down. Yeah, we should be still good. So, you know what's weird? I actually should do a recording of the signal. It's like, I think, call me crazy. Some of these massive lags come in when certain words are mentioned. The Fall Enslaves Us All says nano dust, brought to you by NASA. Yeah, some of that stuff's really scary. I actually remember hearing about nanotech. Was it the early 2000s? I mean, it was a really long time ago now. I mean, this is not new. I mean, let's look at the history of nanotech real quick. So, nanotech is 1 to 100 nanometers. So, wow, officially coined in 1974. So, this is weird. So, from the Science History Institute, it says that nanotech has its roots in ancient times through the use of nanoparticles in stained glass. The field's foundation was laid by Richard Feynman in 1959. With modern advancements exploding in the 80s via scanning tunneling microscopy, enabling precise atom level manipulation. So supposedly, medieval glass makers used supposedly unknowingly, used nanoparticles to create brilliant colors in church stained glass. Michael Faraday in 1857 produced ruby-colored gold colloidal solutions. The theoretical foundations were by Richard Feynman. In his famous talk, There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom. And in 1974, Japanese scientist Norio Taniguchi coined nanotech. All right, first nano camera. Interesting. So, supposedly, cameras the size of a grain of salt were developed at Princeton University and the University of Washington 2021. Yeah, I'm thinking it was made way before that. Yeah. That's like saying by the time they admitted to cloning Dolly in 1993, like what else had they been cloning and for how long? And yes, I am going to be doing a podcast episode on Epstein's human cloning farms and genetic engineering. Supposedly that was his main field, as well as corporate espionage and all of that stuff. The trafficking was supposedly like one of his little side projects, which is why some people theorize the powers that be in the mainstream media is okay with leaking a lot of that stuff because they want everybody distracted with, you know, his side projects to take away attention from the main projects. Flat Bob says, how big is a nanometer? Yeah, it's kind of hard to fathom. A nanometer is 1 multiplied by 10 to the negative 9th power meters, or 0.000000001 meters. So there are 1 billion nanometers in 1 meter. So a single water molecule is less than 1 nanometers across. A DNA molecule is about 2.5 nanometers wide. A human hair is 80 to 100,000 nanometers wide. Indy Cindy says, I believe he was looking for the fountain of youth gene. He wanted to live forever and was funding a lot of research under other names. You mean Epstein? Yeah, well, yeah, people are doing a lot of research and uncovering a lot of his shell companies. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. I don't know about all that in terms of the fountain of youth, but some of these darker theories are saying that he was actually, like, some of these breeding farms were utilizing his DNA as well, and that there's potentially millions of people walking around with his DNA. Because he might have been at this since the 80s. And who knows how big the farms were and how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of babies they were farming. But again, to go down the deepest rabbit hole, is this all history repeating? Cabbage Patch Kids, Tartaria, Orphan Trains, Mud Flood, all of that. If you haven't checked out the Real History of the World series, I did 2 episodes on that, and the most important documentary of all time, 2 episodes in, uncovering all of this, as well as the Altered History series, which you can all check out here on Mindshock. Indy Cindy says, when I say other names, I mean like researching cancer, but with ulterior motive, meaning that they would be researching immortality. That's all these a-holes look for. Oh yeah, there's obviously no shortage of fraud in those disclosures, especially in charities. And that's why I always thought it was weird, all those fundraising charities for awareness and all these diseases. If the money was really going there, that problem would have been solved a long time ago. Les Xylophone says, you ever review Behold a Pale Horse? So I did the full summary, and I've talked about that many times, yes. I went over specific instances regarding false flag operations and a lot of his predictions, including 9/11 and including bin Laden being blamed for it. Indy Cindy says he reportedly consulted with transhumanist scientists on ideas like cryonics, genetic engineering, and AI to achieve biological immortality. Heracles says, Bruce, did you watch the show The Blacklist? I think I might have seen the a certain amount of episodes when it first came out, but I remember it was pretty bland. I really, I yeah, I remember it being quite bland. But now that you mention it, I'm vaguely, I think I know why you mentioned it. There might have been some parallels there. I just wasn't a fan of the actors, the pacing, the editing. It was just not a fan of the production of the show, but the content was the storyline wasn't bad. Flat Bob says, "Why's it got to be black? I should be called the Dark List." All right, couple more things I wanted to go over here. If I can remember, got kind of distracted. Okay, hold on a second. All right, let's see. I was gonna bring up a couple other things. There's a couple things I could bring up here, but I don't know if I want to get this shut down right now. Oh, nano cameras. Oh yeah, yeah. We're still on the side for this because I actually wanted to bring up a few other things before the nanotech. But yeah, it says Princeton 20. What was it? 2020 something. So yeah, I'm not. I don't think that's true because again, same thing with Dolly cloning the sheep when they went public in '93. Les Xylophone wants to shut it down. Yeah. There's quite a few things we can go over. I wanted to. All right, hold on, hold on. Man, I totally forgot what I was gonna go over. Got so distracted with the nanotech. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff I could put up here. But, yeah, I don't think I should. I should probably edit it a little bit. I should edit it a little bit. So, okay, so the disclosures. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I got it. I remembered what I had here. So, yeah, it was a meme. I can't find it, but basically, it was just like a picture of the empty streets in the aftermath of the Epstein file release. How there's nothing, and that's because the string pullers aren't paying the paid protesters to protest about the Epstein release. About, the satanic scumbags, trafficking children and all that. There's no protests. In which case, that begs the question, is simply 99.999% of all protests staged and paid? Critter Mama says, darn Bruce, amazing, isn't it? Because a lot of goofs are hallucinating, like, that all these protests. Well, I mean, people were saying that for a long time, ever since they were, like, dropping off those slabs of bricks at all the BLM protests. And a lot of goofs were still hallucinating that that was all organic and the will of the people. Heracles says, you started talking about CCTV. Yeah, in the 70s. That was around since the 70s. Yeah, back to my original point about enemy of the state. Like, why would coincidence theorists hallucinate that that's all fantasy? I mean, it's just kind of weird. I mean, it's just the progression of technology. Moore's Law, if you will, which I've talked about before, just like with alleged space travel. So supposedly they can't land anybody on the moon at all, and yet they have the technology to go to Mars now. So the technology has progressed to the point of landing rovers on Mars, yet they can't go back to the moon, which they already supposedly did. And the NASA cultists maintain that that's all normal. I mean, does this pass even, a retarded child's sniff test? I mean, how gullible do NASA bootlickers have to be to think that technology's progressed? Look at this amazing technology, landing rovers on Mars. They couldn't land rovers on Mars in the 60s, but yet they could land men on the moon? Supposedly, the first successful lander was NASA's Sojourner, which touched down July 4th, 1997, part of the Mars Pathfinder mission. So technology is moving so rapidly that by 97, they could land rovers on Mars. So 1969, man on the moon. 1997, rover on Mars. So by this point, there should be men on Mars. Indy Cindy says, wasn't Russia first to Mars? It says here the first rover to successfully land. Well, let's see if there was a failed one. If you haven't checked out my episode on Nazis on the moon, check that out. So I don't know how much of this is disinfo, how much of it is, because again, I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. This is, of course, Mindshock, where the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. If Mars is simply another pond on some kind of near infinite plane on this earthly realm, is going to Mars merely going over a few ponds, and then that's what's being holographically reflected in some capacity in the sky. So you're not necessarily going to what you're seeing in the sky. That could be some kind of holographic projection or reflection. But either way, I went over Terzinski's theories, and supposedly there was some kind of joint Brazil-Vatican mission to Mars in the 70s, manned. And there is some alleged footage of that, which I played. And there's also a photograph of, do you guys want to see it again? The Terzinski leaked a photo of a Nazi moon base, a manned moon base. Who here has not seen it that wants to see it? I'll put it up. I'll put it on the screen, but definitely check that episode out. Give me 1 second. Let's see where it is. I mean, he had a ton of leaks here. So this is Vladimir Terzinski's leaked photo. Make of this what you will. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. Supposedly, the Mars 2 probe was the first human-made object to reach the surface of Mars in a crash landing, November 27th, 1971. Yeah, this doesn't pass the sniff test either. Because if they could crash land in 71, I mean, it takes almost 30 years to successfully land. That's kind of weird. Does this pass the sniff test? And supposedly, the Mars 3 probe successfully soft landed December 2nd, 1971. See, that makes more sense from November to December. And even transmitted for 20 seconds. And NASA did a flyby, allegedly, July 14th, 1965. Returning the first close-up images. Yeah, this doesn't quite pass the sniff test. So the first lander so okay, the Luna 9 landed successful soft landing February 3rd, 1966. So they went to Mars in within 6 years. So the Luna 2 touched the moon in 1959, and there were people on the moon inside of 10 years. Just think about this. Let's use basic logic and Moore's law here. So you have the first unmanned lander, 1959. First human landed, 1969. First Mars lander, 1971. Still no human. According to this progression, by 1981, there should have been a landing, right? Okay, so first lunar flyby, January 4th, 1959. 59, then Mars flyby, 65. Within 6 years, there's a difference. So there's a gap of 6 to 10 years between everything they're doing on the moon and everything they're doing on Mars. So where's the manned mission to Mars? Do any coincidence theorists or NASA cultists have answers here? Because if 6 to 10 years is the difference of tech between getting to the moon and getting to Mars, where's the manned land? The manned landing on Mars should have been in the 90s at the latest. At the absolute latest, just based on all of this technology. Flap Bob says impossible to fake that. Are you talking about Terziski's image here of this manned lunar base? I wonder if this is a real image though, like if this was a base in Antarctica or something, some kind of underground Antarctica base. Because he seems legit. Like he seems legit. Maybe he's not, but he seems legit. Flap Bob says, I hear there have been some manned mission to Uranus. Welcome, Sarah. Critter Mama says, so do you think the recovered artifacts from Germany and WW2 or something from Antarctica give info for space travel? Maybe. I mean, Terziski really explained how UFO technology worked. I went over all of that in that episode, so check that out. Like, he seems pretty legit. I mean, if he's faking it all, he's a great actor. Because, I mean, he goes 6 hours with all the technical data. It seems legit. He worked at a university in the U.S. and then he just disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to him. Indy Cindy says, Venera 7 first to send data from Venus, August 17th, 1970. USSR launched the Venera 7 probe, the first human-made spacecraft to land on another planet and transmit data back to Earth. I mean, this is the official narrative, of course. Like, I don't know who believes this stuff. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, not blind faith in the Church of NASA or the Church of any space agency. Do you guys want to look at the alleged Mars landing? Let me see what I got here. So this is what Terziski claimed, and Bill Cooper actually interviewed Terziski. Did we go over that interview? You guys want to go? I don't know if I went over. We might have not gone over that interview. Huh. All right. Well, here's some kind of alleged leaked footage of landing on Mars.
Prepare a lot of detail.
From the 70s. supposedly some kind of Vatican. I think it was Vatican and Brazil, some kind of joint manned mission. Now, is it plausible that on the earthly realm, if there is some kind of dome or something on the Earth portion, and if you keep going across the plane to other domes and other realms, let me bring up this map that we went over before. See if I can remember which one it was. It's the Terra Infinita. And then let me know if you guys want to listen to the Bill Cooper interview with Terzinski. I don't think we went over it before, but so let's see here. Is this the one? So our Earth realm in the middle here, with several different outer rings and outer continents. And so, for example, what they have labeled here is lands of... Got Anunnaki lands. Where's Mars? Like, Mars was one of these or something. Nibiru here. And so is it reflecting up in the sky, and we're seeing the reflection of something on our plane? And that's what this all is. So Mars is real, and maybe you can go there, but you don't go there by going up. You go there by going across. Same thing with Sirius and all these other, you know, like you got the Greys, all these theories about extraterrestrials. Are they not up? Are they simply across really far, and UFOs are real, and they're coming from across the realm, not from up? Something to ponder. Of course, I do not claim anything is true or untrue. But make what you will of this footage here. I mean, doesn't it look way more real than anything NASA's putting out? I mean, maybe it's fake, but doesn't it look way more real than anything NASA puts out? I mean, this doesn't look bad. Critter Mama says, I think we did, but it's worth another look. Jeff says, looks like the Grand Canyon to me to be... Nah, this isn't the Grand Canyon. This is definitely not the Grand Canyon. I don't know if it's Iran, though. I've never been to Iran. Is that their landscape? Flap Bob says, the Church of Neil deGrasse Tyson. Well, Flap Bob said Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I call him Neil deGoof because I believe it's more accurate. I mean, this could be some Arab country. I mean, it's some kind of desert landscape. Or dare we say it's real, and it is from Mars across the plane and not up. And I actually forgot. I'm not sure. I wonder if this is from Terzinski, because if it's from Terzinski, it'd be a little bit more credible. I'm not sure it is. It might be, though. He did make the claim about the joint manned mission to Mars with the Vatican, and I think it was Brazil. But I'm not 100% sure he supplied this particular tape or if I found it somewhere else. I'm sure I mentioned it in the podcast though. I mean, it was a while ago that I did it. Oh, look at that. There's some kind of creature. Like I said, I mean, this could be totally fake, but it looks. I mean, who can provide a video that NASA has made that's better than this? What kind of animal can produce this effect in Iran or somewhere in the Middle East deserts? I think there are probably a few. So, but look at the constituency of that sand. Is it just me, or does that not look like normal desert sand? I mean, call me crazy. It doesn't look like normal sand constituents. It just the constituency doesn't look like that. So is this part of some kind of documentary, I guess, where they're examining this claim? Where on Earth? Yeah, this looks more earthly here, like from the air. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not the Grand Canyon. This is not how the Grand Canyon looks like. Yeah, this potentially could be, I guess, somewhere in the Middle East, or maybe some of the African deserts. I don't know. Yeah, it could be Earth, I suppose. I mean, that's an interesting feature right there. Look at that feature. Like some kind of, I mean, discolored sand or mountain feature there. See, for example, all the images put out by NASA, that's just Devon Island with a red filter, but this does not look like Devon Island. This looks like somewhere else. Can anybody, yeah, I wonder if anybody's been able to find, because this looks like some kind of, I don't know, some kind of different minerals in this feature than the rest of the landscape, causing it to look white. And then you have those, some kind of mountains in the background, and then vast desert here. Pretty rugged, but when he gets real close like this doesn't look like typical desert sand that I've seen. It looks like a lot thicker, granular sand with a different constituency to it. Critter Mama says, aren't there high winds supposedly on Mars? I wouldn't trust anything anybody says on what there is on Mars. Flat Bob says, reminds me of Total Recall. Yeah, that's interesting. You know was Total Recall predictive programming about how going to Mars is all virtual reality? It's not real because it's all virtual reality and AI or whatnot. Flat Bob says blue sky on Mars. Are you talking about in this video? It doesn't look blue here. It kind of looks whitish. Gray, white, gray. I mean, it could be on Earth. Yeah, like a cloudy day. It could definitely be well, actually not really, because if it's a cloudy day, why would the landscape pop so bright red? Red, brown. Like, you can see the color differentiation and the brightness here. It seems like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's definitely weird footage. It's definitely weird. And definitely looks better than anything NASA's put out. Actually, I don't know. It looks like the sun potentially could be out. Like, what landscape has these kinds of features? Like these like whitish rocks, but then darker mountains in the background. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting landscape. Flat Bob says gray, white chemtrails on Mars. Indy Cindy says, how is the gravity there? Indy Cindy, have you seen... Okay, are you familiar with the flat earth arguments? Let me give you a link. The Bryant-Myers debate, my logical analysis on it, is one of my favorites because just so much was gone over. Let me drop a link here so you can check that out. And you could listen to all of the arguments. So I just dropped it in the chat there. Including arguments whether or not gravity is real. Christopher Allen says NASA can film anywhere they want. They could be filming somewhere none of us have ever been or can go. Well, that's an interesting point, too. What if this is simply further out in Antarctica where nobody can go? Although it doesn't quite look like this. I mean, this just looks weird. I mean, it just looks so weird. Look at the differentiation in some of these sections here. Has anybody in the chat been to Iran or some of those countries in the Middle East? Is this consistent? I think they have higher mountains somewhere, though, don't they? I don't know. I mean, these are really interesting rock features. And then, what is that? Is that a road? Or a river or something? What is this, a natural feature? I mean, it's not exactly straight lines. Yeah, it looks weird. I mean, it doesn't quite look like a road, but I don't know if that looks natural either. Or is that like a giant snake skeleton? Yeah, what's interesting about this footage is it looks just... Like, it looks like it could potentially be on Earth, but it looks just weird enough where you might think it's not. This is from the 70s. Are you talking about what's on the screen right now? This is allegedly the footage recorded in a manned mission to Mars, like a joint Vatican-Brazil mission, if I remember correctly. I mean, the Vatican can definitely fund whatever they want, but... Well, Flap Bob says, my problem with the video is that there's something flying around on Mars. They claim it has 1% of Earth's atmosphere. You can't fly in 1% of the Earth's atmosphere. I wouldn't believe any of the claims. So, again, this footage is allegedly from a non-NASA entity. This is from a Vatican-Brazil joint mission, allegedly. So it would have nothing to do with NASA or the claims NASA makes. Where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. Let me check that out. The shore of the Dead Sea in the West Bank, near the ruins of Qumran. I don't know. Let's see here. I don't think so. That'd be too obvious. Why would they do it there? So this is where they found it. Let's look at the background. Yeah, it's sort of, but I really don't think they would have filmed it there. It's too obvious. I mean, I wonder, I need to find some footage from the 70s from the air so we can go apples to apples. But here's what that landscape looks like. I mean, this photo is much better quality. I'm gonna find something from the 70s so that way we can get a similar look. I just don't really see any kind of grass features. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, let me get some 70s footage. Actually, so this is, it might be, let's look at Iran here. So, middle of nowhere Iran looks like this. Interesting. Huh, maybe. Who said Iran? Yeah, let me find some 70s footage of Iran from the air. Might not be so easy to find. Okay, the closest I could find is footage of jets in Iran. But you can see, one of them you can kind of see the landscape in the background, so let's compare here. Gonna take a second here. But it's from the 70s with 70s cameras, so it'll be a little bit, we could get a little bit more apples to apples. Huh. What does everybody think here? Maybe. I wish there was just more footage here. Maybe, look at that. That's probably the best shot that was just there. The shot right here. Right here. That's Iran from the air. I mean, it looks a little different, though. Not quite. Not quite. But that's what makes the video so interesting. Like, it's semi-plausible. It's on Earth somewhere. Maybe Antarctica, who knows, but... Alright, check you guys out later. Indy Cindy, welcome Sandro. Flat Bob says, even if you see the Vatican archives, all the books are in old languages. You wouldn't be able to actually read any of it. That's interesting, but would there be like a real Rosetta Stone, though? Which is another topic for another podcast on how that's all fraud. And so everything is mistranslated. But the Vatican might actually have real translations. Because if Tartaria was around as recently as 100 or 200 years ago, and it was its own language, they might be able to translate everything. Yannick says, I've been in the Guajira Desert in Colombia. Let me check that one. It kind of, I mean, Iran's a pretty good guess. I mean, there's some similarities there. Let's see here. From the air. Oh, wow. It does look a little bit similar. So this is... This is... I just missed it. What country was that? Colombia. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, let me see if I can get any footage from the 70s. I mean, it looks like there's a lot more green there in Colombia. But it has some stretches, and the constituency of the sand does kind of look... The constituency. It might be. It might be. Look, it does look quite... Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. Maybe. No, that's nice, Yannick. That it might be. I just want to see if it has like just bigger stretches out there, because there's complete flat areas, and then there are a few areas with some of these mounds, and also rock features here. So maybe, and there. I mean, there was also like this one African desert. I don't remember the name of it. So yeah, I can't find anything from the 70s in Colombia, but yeah, maybe. I mean, it kind of almost looks too big, though. Like, Iran is so huge with these areas. Yeah, I don't know. All right, let's go over one more topic here before I wrap this up. What does everybody want to go over? We got room for one more. We kind of went way off track there. Flat Bob says, Mars is allegedly much smaller than Earth. Where's the curvature? Sarah says, I remember when fighter jets would fly over my house when I was little, they would fly so low. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Has there been more or less fighter jet activity over the past decade or two? I do vaguely remember there being more of them, I want to say, between 2000 and 2010. I can't remember the last time I saw or heard one. Yannick says, have you touched the topic of microzyma Antoine Béchamp versus Louis Pasteur? Yeah, I've talked about that. I think I had a clip. Maybe I should re-upload it. I don't know if I put the clip up on this channel. Oh, did you guys want the Bill Cooper clip, interview clip, or do you want to go over one other topic? Or are we going to stay on the... You know, I might as well stay on topic here. Let's do the Bill Cooper Terziski clip. Unless you guys have something else in mind. And then we'll wrap it up.
Well, once again, welcome to the hour of the
Maybe we'll just do a little sneak preview here.
time, the only hour that...
Definitely a non-American.
We're going to talk about it in depth, where it came from, who's developed it, is it real, is it not real? And by now, those of you who have been listening to this show for some time probably have realized that once again we're going to talk about UFOs. I first met this gentleman during my lecture tours several years ago, when I began to notice that right in front of my podium in the first row, the same gentleman seemed to be following me around the country and always had very penetrating questions to ask. We eventually struck up conversation, got to know each other, and I found that behind the beard was a very good brain that was working all the time. Some of his research has parallel to mine, and he certainly knows a lot more about some parts of this mystery than I do. And that's what we want to get at tonight. We want to sort of pick his brain and get to what he knows about this mystery called UFOs. His name is Vladimir Terziski, and he is originally from Bulgaria. And Vladimir, welcome to the Hour of the Time.
Thank you very much, Bill. I'm very happy to be a part of this great show, probably one of the best shows on the West Coast.
Thank you.
Definitely a non-American
What kind of shows is he watching on the East Coast?
show without any commercials, intellectual show that would make people to think, something that seldom happens here. More easily one can find such a show in Europe, for example.
Well, you know a lot about that because you come from a country that was traditionally, you weren't allowed to have any freedom of speech at all, were you?
And that's exactly how we learned to look for good shows. We would
There are stories of a giant, they say giant, nobody really knows how big this thing was, but it was an airship that went across the
ghost
country.
airships.
Well, not ghosts, because this thing actually landed, people got out and talked to people.
Anti-gravity lift.
I'm just gonna skip through it real quick.
Space-time, and it's always been my contention that these machines are time machines. What do you think about it?
A very good point. They may introduce little distortions in time that an accurate time, atomic time clock would measure as an artificial satellite that has a atomic time clock on board would measure a little delay in time. Even an atomic time clock spun around the globe on a standard passenger jet plane would show a little delay, so they do interfere with space-time. But if you're talking about a practical time machine that would take us backwards or forward in time, it would take a little bit more hardware and gadgetry. But it is still easily attainable. My feeling is that these are technologies that were attained by both the Germans and this country's government almost half a century ago. But this would be a topic of an entirely different discussion.
So yeah, in terms of UFOs, real or blue beam, that's a false dichotomy logical fallacy, because both. So, I mean, the Germans obviously developed some kind of UFOs, and then eventually the U.S. did as well. I mean, there's videos of them. So, now, obviously, Project Blue Beam, also an actual real project. Serge Monast, I believe, the first to blow the whistle, and then Bill Cooper after that. And then Alex Jones and all the others came after. But, and then also, if there are other entities visiting the Earth from other dimensions, not necessarily other planets, that could be as well. Or, yeah, fallen angel. I mean, there's a lot of options there. So, we don't need to fall for logical fallacies regarding that. So, yeah, anybody else have anything quick before we wrap this one up? And then I'll be back with probably the most important documentary of all time, part 3 next. Welcome, Franklin from South America. Flat Bob says, I take it you don't want to talk about the war? Which war? Which war? Iran? I usually don't really go over anything in the early unfolding because so much more information comes after, so it'd be a lot more speculative initially. But yeah, it ain't called the theater of war for nothing. All the world's a stage. Seabass says, is Epstein and Iran a diversion from AI? I mean, everybody's talking about AI nonstop, so I don't know if that would really be qualify as a diversion. Heracles said, we just checkmated China and Russia last 2 months, but the best part is we stuck it to the UK and EU because they were both still doing business with Venezuela and Iran. Iran as well. Sandro says UK is a massive joke at the moment. I mean, the whole world is. I mean, we switched over to satire reality in about 2011, according to my calculations, which you can check out. And I just did a jumbo premiere on the fall of Western civilization and dissecting the 80s and 90s and the decline. So you guys can check that out. I'm going to wrap it up here, so we'll catch you guys on the next one. If you want to help support the Mindshock podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it's quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.